Today's number is 67. That is, in percentage points, the share of real Beth Israel emergency room triage cases where OpenAI's reasoning model identified the correct or near correct diagnosis at first touch point, 67% of the time. The two attending internal medicine physicians it was tested against, same data, same checkpoint, scored 55 and 50% respectively. Peer reviewed in Science last week. Hang on to that number for a moment. We'll come back to it momentarily. Well, it's Thursday. Happy Thursday. We're almost at the end of the week. 90 days ago, Elon Musk wrote on X that Anthropic, quote, hates Western civilization, end quote. Yesterday morning, his flagship XAI data center became theirs, basically. 220,000 NVIDIA GPUs, more than 300 megawatts of compute power, online inside of a month. And the first thing Anthropic did with the new capacity was double the rate limits inside of Claude. The compute war is the actual scoreboard, and as of yesterday, even the rivals are sharing GPUs together. I'm Don Michalik, and this is your Morning Intelligence for Thursday, May 7th, 2026. Here's what we've got for you in today's preview. In the lead, we have Anthropic taking every GPU at SpaceX's Memphis data center yesterday, and Musk reversed his own attack to do it. And we'll unpack why your Claude rate limits doubled. In the rundown, Apple writes the first big AI washing check of the year, $250 million over Siri features that never really shipped. Cognizant is reportedly cutting up to 15,000 jobs, and the FreshWorks CEO said over half of our code is AI. The same morning, he cut 500 humans from their work. And Canada ruled OpenAI broke its privacy laws while training ChatGPT. In the deep cut, 67 from our number of the day paired with 2 Harvard ER doctors and 76 real patients. And we'll close with the easiest Mother's Day gift hack you'll hear all week long. I love this one. Let's go ahead and get into it. All right, let's start with our lead story today. Yesterday morning, Anthropic announced a partnership with SpaceX. Anthropic gets exclusive access to all of the AI compute at SpaceX's Colossus One data center in Memphis. This is all per Bloomberg, CNBC, Reuters, and Engadget. The numbers here. 222,000 NVIDIA GPUs, more than 300 megawatts of compute power, capacity coming online within the month, per Anthropic, that is. And the first thing Anthropic did with that capacity, well, it doubled the hourly rate limits for paid Claude Code users and revoked peak hour throttling. If you've hit a Claude rate cap inside the last 30 days, that's about to change. And some 2 pieces of context here. The first, obviously, is Colossal One was originally Musk's flagship XAI data center, the same facility used to train Grok. So the data center that powered Grok last month, well, that's now powering Claude this morning. Second up, 90 days ago, Musk publicly attacked Anthropic on X. I know, surprise. Elon Musk using X to attack people. Anthropic hates Western civilization, he said. Well, yesterday in the announcement, he reversed, said he'd spent some time with senior Anthropic team members and was, quote, impressed. For context here, under oath in Oakland federal court on Tuesday, OpenAI President Greg Brockman disclosed his company plans to spend roughly $50 billion on compute in 2026 alone, up from $30 million in 2017. Again, that's all per Bloomberg here. So why does this context matter? Why are we kind of bringing all these different stories together? Well, again, another question for you. If the same data center that powered Grok last month now powers Claude this morning, what is the AI race actually a race for here? I think it's an interesting question to consider. The answer the market is giving us is this. It's all about compute power, not necessarily the models, not benchmarks, not features. It's all about capacity, at least right now. The US AI race has gotten so capacity constrained that 2 CEOs who publicly insulted each other 90 days ago are now sharing GPUs. That is the actual story of 2026 in a nutshell. Compute is the moat, and even rivals will sell it to each other if it helps each other out. The bottom line here, compute is the actual scoreboard underpinning everything that we've been seeing so far this year. If you've hit Claude rate limits in the last month, expect that to ease over the next 30 days or so. And if you've been deciding between Claude and ChatGPT for your team, well, the will it scale question just got a different answer this morning. All right, let's go ahead and get in today's rundown. And this one comes from TechCrunch, Mac Rumors, Apple Insider, 9 to 5 Mac. And I do believe Engadget even had it as well. I have to double check. But a federal court has granted preliminary approval to a $250 million class action settlement against Apple. The class is anyone who bought an iPhone 15 or iPhone 16 in the US between June 10th, 2024 and March 29th, 2025. And the reasoning is pretty simple. Apple promoted the personalized Apple Intelligence Siri features at WWDC 2024, delayed them in March till March 2025, and as of today, they still have not shipped. Settlement structure here, the eligible class members get an estimated $25 per device, scaling up to 95 depending on class volume. Notices begin going out within the next 45 days. Apple admitted no wrongdoing. The personalized Siri is now expected within iOS 27 at WWDC on June 8th. Okay, we'll see if that actually happens. So, what here? If you bought an iPhone 15 or 16 in the US between that 10-month window, or if you know anyone who did, you're likely owed somewhere between $25 and $95 per device. So, watch your inbox today. Beyond the rebate angle here, this is the first time a major US tech company has had to write a check specifically because its AI feature didn't ship as promoted. For the marketing managers in the audience, AI washing now has a litigation price tag. And that precedent is the actual news here. So keep an eye on that. All right. Our second story in the rundown. This is a little bit of an interesting one. The reporting is across Republic World, Business Today, American Bazaar, Good Returns, and I believe it was in Bazinga, TechCrunch, and a couple other places. Well, I actually got this one from Quartz, but two beats inside of one segment here. So let's take this one kind of slowly. First up is Cognizant, the IT services giant, about 357,000 employees, most of them in India. Cognizant is reportedly evaluating reductions of 12,000 to 15,000 jobs under an internal program called Project Leap. Severance costs alone are guided at $230 to $320 million. The headcount isn't officially confirmed yet, but the severance number is the company's own. And that's what gives the cut some credibility here. CEO Ravi Kumar's framing here is, quote, broader and shorter pyramid, end quote. Fewer manager layers, more automation. At 15,000, it's the largest single IT attributed workforce reduction announcement in 2026, and most of it is India based. Second up is FreshWorks with an 11% reduction, or about 500 employees, much smaller than Cognizant's 12,000 to 15,000 job cuts here. Even though their Q1 revenue beat was $228.6 million, up 16% year over year. CEO Dennis Woodside, in his employee letter and in a Reuters interview here, said over half of our code is written by AI. Shares dropped more than 8% in extended trading. So what? Why are we kind of bringing these two into focus into one rundown story? Well, again, here's another question for you. If over half of our code is written by AI, quote, is now a sentence a sitting CEO uses on a day he cuts 500 humans from their work, what is the version of that sentence your CEO is going to use and how soon? Because everyone's keeping an eye out for these things, everyone's focusing on these things, and people are getting more comfortable talking about this stuff as they make these announcements. This is no longer hypothetical. This is now a trend that's happening in the real world. Yesterday's rundown named the layer being compressed here. The managers, the pure managers here, they're trying to cut the middle of the pyramid. Today's names the next here: offshore engineering and road SaaS development. If your company outsources any technical or back office staff to Cognizant, Infosys, TCS, Wipro, the AI productivity discount conversation is about to start showing up on renewal calls. I would almost guarantee it. So let's be ready for it. Right. Our third story in the rundown, and this one comes from CBC News, the Office of Privacy Commissioner of Canada, and I think this one even came from PPC land as well. In fact, I think that's where I actually got this story. Yesterday morning, the Privacy Commissioner of Canada, joined by provincial commissioners from Quebec, BC, and Alberta, held a press conference. The headline find here: OpenAI did not respect Canadian privacy laws when it built ChatGPT. They found six violation pillars here: consent, transparency, accuracy in the outputs, individual rights, retention policy, and accountability. The training data swept up health conditions, political views, and information about children without the user's knowledge or consent. OpenAI has already agreed to making changes. The personal information used to train new ChatGPT models going forward, they'll keep a better eye on it. Better notice, easier rights for Canadian users, no fine. Canadian privacy law in its current form doesn't authorize one per se, but the formal finding is the news here. So what? Well, this is the first time a Western government has formally said the way ChatGPT was trained on its own citizens was illegal. For Canadian listeners, expect new privacy notices and an easier do not train on my data toggle inside the next 90 days. For anyone else, the pattern in Western privacy law is that Canada and Australia rule first, then usually the UK and the EU follow with bigger fines. So this is a template. It's happened before. Let's keep an eye on it. If you're enjoying Morning Intelligence, do me a quick favor here. Forward today's episode to one person on your team who keeps asking you what's going on in the world of AI. Text, email, Teams message, Slack message, LinkedIn DM, whatever works best for you. If you share with them, you help the show grow, and I'd greatly appreciate if you did it. Thank you so much. All right, let's go ahead and get today's deep cut. The deep cut today and the 67% from the top of the show. Last week, a peer reviewed paper landed in Science. Researchers at Harvard Medical School in Beth Israel took 76 real triage cases, think real patients, same medical record information the doctors actually had, and put OpenAI's reasoning model up against two attending internal medicine physicians on the same data. No pre processing whatsoever. At the first diagnostic touch point, when the doctor has the least information and the most urgency, the OpenAI model correctly identified the exact or near exact diagnosis 67% of the time. The two physicians scored about 55 and 50% respectively. The OpenAI model also held parity or beat them at every subsequent checkpoint as more information came in. Here is the part that makes the study rather credible and I think rather really cool it was a really cool read for me. And the authors were explicit here. This does not support replacing emergency room physicians today. Their conclusion: the gap is large enough to demand urgent real world perspective trials. And the caveat is part of why the results land, or at least they landed with me. Yesterday, we flagged when a number comes from the company that it benefits. OpenAI's own 52.5% hallucination claim, if you remember it. This one didn't necessarily. This one came from Harvard in Science on actual patients. So, why is this worth your time? Well, two reasons the study is going to land, at least for me, today. First, AI is actually getting better, or is it hype? That's the question. In this domain, on a real benchmark, on a peer review, yes, that's the answer. Second, is my job at risk lens applied to a profession most people trust? If a $20 a month reasoning model just outperformed two attending Harvard doctors on real patients, the next question kind of writes itself. Where else is this true? That is the conversation we're probably going to be having for months to come. The takeaway here: next time someone in your office tells you AI can't do real expert work, you have peer reviewed ammunition now. 76 real cases, 67 versus 55 versus 50%, published in Science. Whether AI should diagnose is a different question. Whether it can, at least at this benchmark, is no longer up for debate. All right, some fun stuff here. We'll close on a lighter note. For anyone who needs a reminder, Mother's Day is this Sunday, May 10th. Don't forget it. If you haven't figured out what you're getting your mom yet, Etsy has some news for you. Per TechCrunch Retail Brew, Etsy launched a native app inside ChatGPT this week. So open ChatGPT, tag at Etsy, describe your mom in a sentence, and the model browses Etsy's 100 million plus listings and curates results inside the chat. Sample prompt I tried this morning, and it was actually kind of cool. I put, at Etsy, help me find a Mother's Day gift under $100 for my mom who loves gardening and hates clutter. 4 legitimate real listings came back, so I'll have to evaluate those later this morning. And for the marketers in the crowd, is Etsy is now a discovery channel inside ChatGPT. Your brand's discoverability strategy has a new line item today. The sentence, I asked ChatGPT to shop Etsy for me, did not make sense 6 months ago. So run the prompt. And again, Mother's Day is in 3 days. So make sure you're keeping an eye on that. All right. For tomorrow, Microsoft is releasing voluntary buyout details to its employees today, up to 8,750 affected, and we'll have the read on that. Sam Altman is currently expected on the stand the week of May 11th in the Musk versus OpenAI trial. So, again, if there's anything that we need to keep on with that, we'll make sure to do it as well. And we're still watching for that White House executive order on AI model vetting. That's been in draft since the weekend. So, again, we'll keep an eye on that. If anything develops, we'll have it for you tomorrow. And that's Morning Intelligence for Thursday, May 7th, 2026. If you like what you heard, hit subscribe for wherever you're listening. Share with that one friend who keeps asking you, hey, what's going on in the world of AI? You know who they are. I'm Don Michalik. Thank you so much for listening this morning and have a great rest of your Thursday.